Hello, extra time.
They're important to the league not to get a high because it damages your reputation. It makes people, when they read, they just laugh at you.
The single club, they're playing in the League One and they're playing in the Europa League and they're credit to the game in this country. Maybe we should get Stephen Kenny then to manage the Irish team.
Hello and welcome to the second episode of the new season of the extratime.com podcast. I'm your host Luke Jordan. Delighted to say Macdara Ferris alongside me. Macdara, how are you?
I'm good, Luke. How are you getting on?
I'm fine. I'm delighted that Donal Ryan's along with us as well. Donal, how are you?
I'm good, Luke. Thanks for having me.
On the episode this week, we're delighted to have Waterford's hitman Wassim Aouachria after his hat-trick last week against Wexford. We also have St. Patrick's captain Joe Redmond joining us. But first, Macdara, bumper start to the new League of Ireland season.
Yeah, it was bumper attendances all around. I think three sellouts. And it's Bohemians fans who are most happy with the bumper weekend because they're top of the Premier Division because the other four games all ended in draws.
Yeah, well, we'll touch on the Bowls game maybe a little bit later. I suppose the first game to really look at was probably the Battle of the Rovers, Sligo v Shamrock. I'm not going to distinguish who's Rovers because I don't want the argument here. Donal, I'll turn to you first, obviously being the Sligo man. I was looking at a great occasion on LOI TV, packed house in the showgrounds.
Yeah, it certainly was a great occasion, Luke. When you get a crowd like that into the showgrounds, it's always going to be rocking. The atmosphere was really electric in there, I have to say. And having spoken to some of the players afterwards as well, they really felt it. It really helped them get up for the occasion. It's not hard to get up for. It's not hard to get up for it when Shamrock Rovers come to town because it's up in Sligo. It's one of the biggest games of the season. So when Shams do come to the showgrounds, it is a big occasion. So the crowd did play their part, and I think a point was the least the Sligo Rovers deserved from it on Saturday night.
Yes, Macdara, Stephen Bradley actually mentioned that in his post-match. He said that he thought Sligo actually deserved a point.
Yeah, I think certainly Shamrock Rovers didn't do enough, I think, to win all 3 points. Sligo had chances both before Graham Burke's super goal and afterwards. And, the red card was late enough in the game. Roberto Lopez got sent off. I think we're going to talk about that as well. But really, the hoops were kind of under the cosh after that and really kind of dropped deep. There was several chances. I was behind the goal at the other end, and there was a couple of occasions that I thought I definitely thought the ball was going to nestle in the back of the Shamrock Rovers net. But it did. I think it was 95th minute of injury time. Just the pressure told at the end, and the Shamrock Rovers couldn't quite see it out. But overall, even taking account of the red card, I don't think they did enough to start their title defence with 3 points. And I think Sligo Rovers did excellent. I think that the new players, we talked with Jessica Ferry last week about all the new players the Sligo Rovers have brought in and would be able to gel, but I thought they were excellent. In relation to the atmosphere, I really thought it stepped up a notch when Johnny Kenny came on the pitch because he the Riverstown native, got a bit of ire from the locals, and he came on just before the sending off, so it was a little bit probably hard for him to influence the game because he was playing most of the time with 10 men. But having Kenny coming on, the crowd really got going. Then there was the red card. They probably certainly the home fans were shouting for off at Damien McGrath, the referee, and so the atmosphere right to the end of the game, right into the 96, 97 minute was absolutely brilliant. But yeah, if you're a Shamrock Rovers fan, it made the journey back to Dublin a lot longer when you let in a goal at the death like that.
Yeah, and just obviously we'll touch on the red cards as a key moment in the game. We were speaking off air. I think everyone's in agreement, probably bar myself, that I thought was maybe a very soft red card. Donal, you were obviously very adamant that was a definite straight red.
Yeah, I don't think there's any argument about it, Luke, to be honest. And to be fair, I haven't watched it back as well. I'm not really sure how anyone can think it wasn't a red card. I saw a couple of Shamrock Rovers fans giving out that he rubbed his head or something like that. But when you raise your hands to someone and make a motion or a gesture towards their face like that, he had to go. And the thing that took me by surprise the most was Roberto Lopez getting lured into that. I mean, Caelan Barlow, don't get me wrong, he's a top prospect. One of his best attributes is he's able to draw fouls, he's able to win frees really well. And I'm sure that's definitely something we'll see throughout the season from him. But, he was squaring up to Roberto Lopez, and I was just surprised that Lopez kind of reacted in the way he did, because a player of his qualities and his experience, I was just surprised that he kind of fell for that trap. And as soon as he raised his hand, he had to go.
Maybe it's just it's my inner defender coming out that maybe I have a bit of sympathy for Roberto Lopez. But no, we were just even chatting off Macdara there as well about the appeal process, and obviously we might chat it up in a sec, but Rovers aren't going to appeal the decision against Lopez.
No, seemingly not. So Paul O'Hare from the Irish Mirror was talking to Stephen Bradley after the game. So just looking at the quotes, there is a new appeals process that had been brought in. So before it was only for mistaken identity, which I don't know, I can't actually even remember any time that's happened. I'm sure it has happened, but they've brought an appeal process in. But I think like Donal said there, if you raise your hands, you don't really have much of an excuse. And I'd say, for someone like Pico Lopez, who has the captain's armband at Rovers, I'd say, he's a player that should know better than that. Having said that, he was the last player to be sent off for Shamrock Rovers. He got sent off against Bohemians last year. But there was 3 Shamrock Rovers had 3 red cards last season, 3 the previous year. When Stephen Bradley first came in that first season, the disciplinary record was pretty brutal, and it's been pretty good since then. I think 3 red cards across a 54-game season last year, I think is pretty okay. But the worry from a Shamrock Rovers point of view is that, that's violent conduct. Potentially that's 3 matches out for Lopez. And Sean Hoare is coming back from injury. So it'll leave the hoops a little bit light. They play Drogheda on Friday, and then potentially Lopez might miss out on Derry City at home and then St. Patrick's Athletic at home, because Shamrock Rovers are playing 2 away games at the start of the season. So that's kind of the worrying thing. But it seems like they're not going to appeal it.
Donal, in terms of the Sligo team, obviously a lot of new signings, seem to have gelled well in their first game.
Yeah, 3 of the 10 new signings started. The 2 fullbacks, Johan Brandfog and Reece Hutchinson, who I thought were superb throughout, and gave a really good account of themselves from start to finish. And Lucas Browning, who got the equaliser, he was the other new signing to start. And I thought, to be honest, that it wasn't Browning's best showing, especially in the first half. I thought of all the Sligo Rovers players, he was probably the one that was most off the pace. But he really grew into the game in the second half, especially when Greg Bulger was replaced with about 15 odd minutes to go. Browning just kind of dropped back a little bit in front of the back 4 and was able to dictate the play a little bit more. Like, he started spreading the ball a lot better from left to right and right to left from the middle of the park, and then popped up with that absolutely magic goal at the end to steal the draw.
Yeah, and if anyone gets a chance, maybe have a listen to Ocean FM's podcast and have a listen to Donal's reaction to the goal. It was quite exuberant, I'd say, Donal.
Yeah, exuberant might be one way of putting it. Up on the Rovers review that we do every week on Ocean FM. It's like I said, the atmosphere really was, I think you could hear it in the piece, that just how much the showgrounds was rocking. And for a goal like that to go in, we said it as well, it felt like a win. When you get an equaliser like that, and the quality of the goal as well. Like, take nothing away from the strike, it was absolutely brilliant. Like, the touch that Browning took on the edge of the box to compose himself and then fire it through a packed box and find the bottom corner. It was an absolutely quality strike, and as I said earlier, absolutely the least the Sligo Rovers deserved.
Like, Darren, quick word on maybe 2 players. Graham Burke opens the account for the season, good goal in the first half, and maybe even a quick word on Alamanis, excellent again, some fantastic saves. Like, he's 41 this season. He's he's excellent. Yeah,
on Graham Burke, I had to remind myself, he was actually Shamrock Rovers' top scorer in the league last year with 11 goals. Rory Gaffney got 10, but scored more in Europe and contributed more, because Burke was injured for a lot of the season. He missed a lot of the season. He was the Shamrock Rovers penalty taker. I think he scored 5 penalties. He got 5 penalties and he scored all 5. So yeah, it was great to see him start off the season well, and his goal was really well taken. Yeah, talking about Manis, that goal that went in the last minute stopped him from equaling the all-time clean sheet record in competitive matches for Shamrock Rovers. So he'll have been disappointed with that. But yeah, it's one more season for Alan Manis. He's begun he's also working as a coach management role with the IFA actually out of Windsor Park, so it's not a goalkeeping coaching role, but it's about making sure that the goalkeeping coaching right across football in Northern Ireland is where it needs to be. So so he's doing that as well as playing with Rovers this season, and it's I think it's one more hurrah. Where was I listening to? I think maybe it was, I'm going to not plug another podcast, but I think on Dan McDonald was talking about on LOI Central, potentially, will Rovers bring a player in, a new goalkeeper in the middle of the season? So it might be hard to bring, a high quality goalkeeper in at the start of the season to say you're going to be number 2 for the year behind Donal Manus, and you're only going to get to play if Manus is injured or suspended, and potentially they might bring someone in the middle of the season, which would give them, so they'd be coming in from the UK where they're probably playing at the minute, and then in the middle of the summer it gives them a chance to kind of bed in, because the previous week, Liam Poles had left in a bit of a clanger in the previous week. So it's the real concern for Rovers fans this year is it was great that Manus signed up for another year, but he did miss a couple of games because of the injury last year. And then the other thing is, it came close to Stephen Bradley going to Lincoln midway through the season, and if an offer comes in from a UK club or maybe something from Scandinavia, might that turn his head later on in the year if maybe that suited? And they're the real concerns, along with Derry City's form as well.
Just one more thing on Graham Burke. Do you think a lot of fans maybe in the league have forgot how good he is just due to his injuries and kind of maybe not being in the eye of the media or whatever the case may be? Because when he's on form, he's up there, one of the best players in the league.
Yeah, I think so. But it was the fact that last year he got COVID in pre-season. So like the first 5 games of the season, he was only a sub. And then he got injured in the 2-1 win against Shelburne, which was kind of the start of April. And then he didn't start another game for 6 or 7 weeks. And then he was like hit and miss. And really it was only towards the end of the end of the season from end of September on, just looking at the lineups here, he played virtually every game and then got injured towards the end of the season again. So that's been the difficulty, is that he hasn't been able, particularly last season, that he wasn't available. But the goals, like he scored the previous year, he got like 5 in one game against Cork City, I think it was. So, the year before. But this is, he got a couple of international caps for Ireland. Like he played against France in June 2018. Just before France it was one of France's last warm-up games before they went on to win the World Cup. And it was before he then got to move to the UK. And then he came back to Rovers. I think if Graham Burke can stay fit, he will score goals. And it's just to make sure that, that he's fit and available during the year. And I think that's probably the case, that maybe he isn't to the forefront of people's minds.
One thing I will say about Graham Burke, about Graham Burke though is he does love a goal against Rovers, so he does. But take nothing away from his strike. I mean, it was a very poor goal for Sligo Rovers to concede, I thought, because as soon as he received the ball, they just stood off him.
Yeah,
but he was afforded the space to run into the box, and like I was right in line with the strike, and it was an absolutely fantastic strike. The movement on the ball was insane. Luke McNicholas was getting nowhere near it. But I think there was a fairly valid point, Luke, that maybe people do forget how good Graham Burke is when you see the likes of Jack Byrne and Rory Gaffney. But again, when he was afforded the space that he was against us in the showgrounds there, he'll make hay, and he did.
Yeah, no, he's a quality footballer. To us, the other big game of the weekend was, actually they're all big games, of course. Sorry, excuse my slip there. But in terms of Pats and Derry, you're like myself in the Cammack that night. 1-1, was it a fair result? I think it was, as an impartial point of view. What do you think?
Well, I think Derry probably had the better chances. I think David Odom must have pulled off a really good save, I think, before Pats went 1-0 down. But the credit goes to Pats. They went right to the end. Like, they put a lot of pressure on a lot of set pieces, corners right at the death. But I thought probably Derry did enough to get the win, but ultimately they couldn't keep the clean sheet. I think it was definitely kind of 2 points dropped, and because it just would have been if they'd come to Richmond Park 1-1-0, start off the season with that, it kind of just like it's a real sign of intent. Now ultimately they were undone right at the end. A nice goal from Joe Redmond and all, but I just probably thought they were slightly better team. But I was impressed with Pats, and particularly the new players that they slotted into their team. On Derry City's side, I did like the look of Ollie O'Neill. Now, he was raiding down the side of the terrace both you and I were on in the first half, but I definitely thought he was an excellent player. The worry for Derry was that Michael Duffy got injured in the warm-up, and he wasn't, like, he'd been named in the starting lineup, but they had to replace him. I think Jordan McAniff ended up coming in, and he scored. And the fact that Patrick McElhenney didn't seem fit enough to start the game, because he started on the bench, and he did come on, and that would be a worry for Derry, because there were periods last year where they lost both of those players through injury, and there was that period early enough in the season when there was loads of games happening where they had that dreadful run of form. Now they've definitely, their squad is better than it was last year, but you take the two best players. I'm a big fan of Will Patching, so I'd say you take Patching or Connolly out of that Derry team, and you'd be, there's a worry there. But with Duffy and Patrick McElhenney, they're really, really important, and they want to get the most out of them for all of the season if they can.
Yeah, this is kind of a problem I think they're going to have throughout the years, the fitness of McElhenney and Duffy, and the evidence doesn't show, in particular for McElhenney, that you can get a full season out of him. Like, if you look through his stats the past 3 or 4 years, he doesn't play 30 games, like similar to other players in the league, maybe like Roy Benson, for example. They just don't play 30 games. It's hard to rely on those type of players. So it's really important, likes of Patching, the likes of Ollie O'Neill hits the ground, and even McAniff scoring his debut there. Like, it's really important these players come to the fore, and they don't have to rely on the likes of McElhenney to be the one to perform this season.
And was it tough for you to watch Adam O'Reilly play so well in that awful mustard-coloured Derry City jersey?
Do you know what? I don't know if you've seen at the end. He actually went around and clapped all the Pats fans at the end. I don't know if you've seen that. That was I gave him credit where credit's due. He was last Derry player on the pitch. He actually went around and clapped the fans. I don't even notice. I did. But no, look. I think Tim Clancy came out during the week, obviously, before the game, and spoke about the money situation, and it was never. His claim wasn't Adam O'Reilly for the money; it was his agent. I wanted more money for him.
Yeah,
he
said it was a ridiculous amount his agent was looking for. Yeah.
So I think if the anger is there, don't direct that. The young lad. It's more obviously his agent. But look, he had a very good game. I think we can both agree. He was very good in the park, and I actually think he was man of the match. To be honest, he was really good in the game. I thought actually on the match itself, I thought Pats for the first 50 minutes were excellent, and then Brian Maher went down with a mysterious injury, so really Higgins could have a team talk half which was interesting, and then even a little subtle tweak there. McGonigal coming out to the left and McAniff going more central, Ollie McNeil going more central, and you can see the chance straight away came from that when O'Neill slipped in grade, and he should have scored to make it 1-0. That's the chance you're talking about earlier on. He should have scored, and then obviously the warning signs there when the one taken off the line by Redmond, and eventually I'm still confused how McAniff's goal went in. It was scrappy, like it was a mistake.
Was it a double hit? Did he?
No, I think he just, when he was falling, he hit it, and I think caught Odamusu, the fact that he managed to hit it while falling, just one of them. But like, I think my only concern from Derry would be that I don't think they, bar the Ollie O'Neill and Graydon link up, all the chances really came from Pat's errors. There wasn't a moment in the game where Derry were sustaining pressure and really putting the squeeze on Pats, forcing errors, creating chances. More a couple of errors, and they got a goal from it. So that'd be my only concern for them. I thought even in the second half, and it went on, if a team wants to win the league this year, they're the games you're happy winning. Putting your foot to the metal and trying to win the games 2 or 3-0. But instead, they sat back in and they got sucker punched in the end with an 89-minute equaliser. So I think there's lessons to be learned for Derry, I think, but from a Pat's point of view, obviously delighted, 1-1 draw. Last year, like I was saying, losing 4-0 last year, it's now 12 months or 8 months later now, and we're drawing the game 1-1. It shows strides have been made in the right direction. But look, it's early days, it's first game of the season, early day nerves. You can see that throughout players, even their first touch, whatever the case may be, can be a bit off. But look, it's a decent return, I think, for Pats, and I think Derry themselves will look and go, look, not many teams are going to win a Richmond Park this season, so it's also a point for them. The other game, a quick look at then, Dundalk UCD. James Rodgers did mention the podcast, this could be potential Browns game like there, and it certainly was a 1-1 draw.
Yeah, a lovely free kick though, the equaliser laid on for UCD, but talked about 2 points dropped on the road. That was definitely 2 points dropped at home by Dundalk against a team that everyone listened to all the podcasts, listened to Extra Time reporters. We did a compilation of all the predictions, and UCD were bottom. Maybe it's these things are pinned up in the Belfield dressing room, but you don't want to start your season like that.
Yeah, we actually have a little clip of Andy Myler speaking to Tom O'Connor, one of our reporters after the game, so let's have a listen.
Tom O'Connor here with Andy Myler after Andy's student side fought back to draw 1-1 with Dundalk on an opening night here at as I speak now, it's raining, but I mean it's not going to dampen the spirits of the students this week.
No, happy enough with the point, Tom. Yeah, really good. The fact that we've, this is some of the lads' fourth game in 5 days is a serious achievement on the night. So we're delighted with it. We'll be happy going up the road with a point for sure.
Yeah, and look, like you mentioned, it's been a busy week with Collingwood Cup success. One of the stars of that week was Kieran Behan. I mean, that was a fantastic strike to equalise tonight.
Yeah, listen, it's been fantastic. Absolutely brilliant up the north in the Collingwood, and excellent, probably the best player on the pitch tonight as well. So a really good week for Kieran.
And a couple of debutants as well. Young Jesse Dempsey played very well, and obviously Brenton Barr as well.
Yeah. Listen, Jesse, you wouldn't know that was Jesse's first game in senior football. He's absolutely brilliant. And Brendan coming in from Derry adds a decent little bit of experience and a great work rate in the middle of the park and some quality. So, and then Ryan Bowden, first game in senior football, had to come on as well to replace Adam Wells. So, listen, overall, from 1 to 14 or whatever we used tonight, they were absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, and look, I mean, it's going to be a tricky season ahead for everybody involved. There's a lot of movement over and back in the league in the close season. You probably are looking at transfer season a different way. You spoke a little bit earlier on in the week about UCD maybe going down a different way in the future.
I mean, what I was talking about where that was like, could we move the model, not that we've moved too far away, but could we move it to more of a full-time or a professional piece? I think that may be the pressure that comes on it after all, because everybody is becoming more professional. Obviously, there's 2 part-time teams left in the league, there's 2 looking to come up in the Premier Division. You would assume logic would say that over the next couple of years that there will be 10 full-time teams in the Premier Division. So if you want to play in the Premier Division, you probably have to have a full-time model of sorts anyway. So listen, it's not that we would explode anything. It's we try to make a couple of tweaks, a couple of changes, and see was that possible. It may not be,
Yeah, and look, I suppose given the week you've had 4 games in 5 days, there's professional teams aren't going to be touching on full-time teams, like, so you nearly have to dial it back a bit.
You don't. Listen, I've given them the weekend off anyway, so they knew that before tonight, but because we can't push them too hard. But listen, it was a good point. We just look to rest the bodies, get everybody back now, and go again next week.
Last couple of games, then a quick look at then the live game on RT2 on Friday night. Cork City Bows. Cork's big return to the Premier Division unfortunately ended in 2-1 defeat. I suppose the game is more recognised, lads, for goalkeeping errors. I don't know if you've seen them, but the first one, the Cork City error, Macdara was, I don't know, a young lad in goal made his debut, but it's a dreadful, horrendous, shocking. No other adjective you could use really for it.
Yeah, no, well, it really wasn't great. And then James Talbot didn't do much better at the other end, but he wasn't punished. But it was just good to see Cork back. I think the crowd was just under 6,500, so it was the biggest attendance on of the weekend, and live on television. I don't know what so I didn't see the game because I was obviously in Richmond Park, but just from reading the match reports and looking at others, it didn't seem that Cork were very good, not taking too much away from Bows.
Last game that a quick brief chat about then is Shell's Drogheda 0-0. I'd say Macdara, quite a good result for Drogheda. I don't know if you've also seen Matty Smith's miss
sure.
That's gone viral.
Who hasn't seen Matty Smith's miss that's gone viral? Yeah, awful miss. Don't know whether he thought the linesman flag was going up or something, but listen, these things happen. But yeah, not a Shells fans, like any club you want to win your opening game of the season. I think they probably, when the fixtures came out and they were playing Drogheda United, they probably fancied themselves as taking 3 points. But listen, they didn't lose the game. You get a point, and you look to build from it. The difficulty they have though is they're going to Pats next week.
Yeah, like I said, I think I think it was interesting. I heard, speaking at LOI Central, without plugging their podcast, Mark Rossiter was speaking. I think the league is in twos this season. And I think it's like, you have kind of the top two, then you have maybe third and fourth, could be possibly Pats, say, and maybe Bows. Then maybe Donal will probably disagree with me on that one, but then maybe the two after that then could be, say, Dundalk, Sligo, Cork, Shells, and then UC Draw. I think it's a good way to look at the league this year. It's kind of maybe in 2-2-2-2.
Yeah, although when we looked at our predictions, we had a scoring system that had Derry City with, I don't know how it worked out, but it was like 105 points, and Shamrock Rovers were 104 in terms of the ranking. So actually had Derry City winning. And when I looked at the Y Scout end of season report last year, when you looked at the expected goals and then you extrapolated that out across expected points, Derry City would have won the league as well. And the reason being, Shamrock Rovers' expected goals conceded was much lower, and what you read into that is actually how good Alan Manus was. But there's probably people unsubscribing from this podcast as soon as I've mentioned expected points, let alone expected goals.
It can't be XG. I'd be a fan of XG now myself. I think it's a good barometer. Right. Couple of obviously pause from the weekend. In terms of attendances, nearly 30,000 fans. Donald,
it was over 30,000 fans, yeah.
Over 30,000. So, like, as you said, Donald, there's a huge increase at the moment of attendances, and long may it continue.
Absolutely, yeah. It's fantastic to see grounds selling out around the league as well. I think Macdara touched on it there. I think it was 3 of the 5 grounds in the Premier Division anyway that were selling out. And attendances even down in the First Division as well seem to be really on the up as well. It's going to be hard to... There's always that kind of a swell at the start of a season, I find, but it did seem like there was an awful lot more interest at the start of this particular season than there has been before. And I was just saying to a couple of people at work today that, like, it's going to be hard. Our next home game now is it's actually St. Pat's in early March, so we've two away games in between, and that's on a Monday night. So it's going to be hard to follow up that atmosphere on when your first game back at home is a Monday night fixture. It's going to be tricky for people to get to it, but if the interest could be sustained and be kept up, it's only going to be super beneficial for the league on the whole.
Yeah, and just having a look here at the attendances from last weekend compared to, say, the best of 2022 from other clubs, and Sligo's attendance has jumped to, say, last season's best attendance was 3,357. Last Friday night, 4,248 a game, an increase of 891. That shows that the attendance are going the right way.
Absolutely, yeah. And, like, I don't know about you, but I certainly felt like this was the longest off season ever. So it was great to get back into the showgrounds, and I'm sure plenty of other people around the grounds in the country felt that as well. And I just hope that the high attendances can be maintained throughout the season.
Macdara, another huge benefit we were chatting about there earlier on in terms of highlight packages being stuck up pretty much straight after kickoff, which is excellent as well.
Yeah, at the end of the game, yeah. And on extra time, we're now linking to, if you go into any of the matches, so if you go into the report from the Sligo Rovers Shamrock Rovers game, we've linked into the YouTube clip of the highlights, which is really good, because there is no highlights program that they were putting together last year, but what they're doing is they're getting the highlights out really quick. And with the LOI TV has got better as the seasons have gone on. They've put the effort in. I think you were talking about even just the likes of the graphics.
Yeah, that's a huge plus for me. I think it's the graphics, the uniformity across platforms. It drives me mad. It don't make my OCD or something. It just annoys me when I see, I don't know, like mistakes. Like I hate blaming RT, but I will give up RT here. When you watch a game on TV and it's the wrong crest or the wrong players down or whatever the case may be, and the graphics not working, and then before Air left the market, they had their own graphic, and LOI TV their own graphic. I just think uniformity across all platforms, proper league branding. Okay, you can disagree or not like the branding. That's up for debate or it's an opinion, but I think we're all in agreement that we want to see improvements made on and off the pitch, and that is certainly one. I think that's definitely an improvement. I think, look, positive weekend, Donal. I think for the weekend, you kind of summed up there. There's a buzz about the league coming back, and I think it kind of served well, I think, for the first weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great that the League of Ireland is finally back, as I touched on it there a minute ago. But yeah, there's definitely some serious positivity. I don't know if all fans of all teams would be happy with the results, given that there was only one team that won in the Premier Division anyway. but I'm sure Bowes fans will be delighted sitting up there 2 points ahead of everyone else. But yeah, like to say that it's great. There's a serious buzz around the league this year, and I'm really looking forward to getting stuck into the season now.
Yeah, I think we all can't wait for the second game. Donal, thanks so much for coming on.
No problem, lads. Thank you.
And there's kind of a lot of grumbling about maybe we don't have enough Premier League players, but in terms of the Championship, but
what's the point in grumbling about it?
But the step
I can't argue about it, can I? If they're not playing the Premier, what's the point of me grumbling?
The step up to international football from the Championship is it easily manageable?
Well, I tell you back there when we played in 2002, what's the point of me grumbling? We had lads who were all at the bottom of the Premier, real scrapping away, Kinse and Matty Holland, and I had Gary Breen who hadn't even got a club. What's the point of me grumbling? So I don't subscribe to that, you just... Whatever it is, whatever I've got, I'll get them together and make the best of them and try and make sure we qualify. Grumbling is not one of the things I do.
You can subscribe to each new episode of the ExtraTime.ie Sportscast on iTunes. Please give a rating or add a comment there to let us know your views.
Now it's delighted to have Waterford striker Wassim Aouachria. Wassim, how are you?
I'm very good. Yourself?
Yeah, not too bad. I suppose only one place to start. Great start to the season for yourself in Waterford. 3 points and 3 goals for yourself.
Yeah. As you said earlier, very good start. Buzzing obviously about the 3 goals, but even more about the 3 points and the clean sheet and the overall performance. I think it was important for us to start strong like that. That's what we did well, and I think hopefully it's going to set the standards for the rest of the season.
Yeah, and obviously seeing the 3 goals myself, must be happy with the third goal. Good finish.
Yeah, listen, the third goal was a nice one, but I think what you're going to remember is just the goals itself. I don't care about how I score as long as I score, And as long as you help the teams, listen, I'm buzzing about it. Yeah, hopefully we just keep going for the rest of the season.
Yeah, and a big crowd as well. Obviously, Waterford brought a huge amount of fans to the away for their first game away at Wexford, a bit of a derby as well.
Massive crowd. And listen, I think it's one of the reasons that made you maybe play with more passion, more aggression. And personally, I miss the fans. I think you both know football is different with no fans. Pre-season was good, but we definitely miss the fans, and I think that win is massive for them as well, big derby. And hopefully that will bring on the big crown for this weekend as well for the first home game.
Wassim, can I ask about, you mentioned pre-season there was much laughter when the game that you guys played in Dubai ended up being cancelled because of the weather or got rained off, but I'm sure you got a good amount of the time over in Dubai for warm weather training. I think only maybe Derry City and Shamrock Rovers did some pre-season away from Ireland. So what did you get out of the time in Dubai in pre-season?
Listen, obviously I think that the main thing was the weather. Apart from that day, of course, apart from the last day, as you said, when it was raining. But I think the weather helped us to have more loading. Obviously the facilities were brilliant, and once more credit to the club, to the board and the owners to make us be able to go there. It was a great week. Obviously a lot of new players, so it built kind of chemistry as well. I think it was good to be all together for 1 week, and great work, great job. And we played 2 friendlies, maybe 1.5 because one of them got soaked. But yeah, that was a great week overall. Really great week of work, and I think we showed it with the first win. I think this was really useful. Yeah, really useful week.
Yeah, I think so, because you mentioned there that a lot of new players have come in. It's probably really important for just the squad to gel. Last season you guys did really well. A lot of the players are still involved in the club, but just to integrate those new players in, getting a little bit of time away really makes a difference, and you hit the ground running with the win on the opening night of the season.
No, it is. Listen, as you said, the group you had last season was great already, and the few lads that came to add are really good as well, whether that's on of the pitch, as we've seen on Friday. And all you have to do is just keep working hard. I think there is no secret in football. If you look at Cork last season, they were just consistent. And I think that's going to be the key this season. I think that's what we lacked a little bit last season at times, whether that was in the league or even in the cup when we lost. And that's what we're going to just keep working hard, and hopefully, at least the target is promotion this year and to win the league. That's the only way we want to go through. And if we keep working hard and stay serious the whole season, then there is no reason it won't happen anyway. So,
just checking my stats there. You scored against Fleet with the game called off. You still count that goal?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. They will count.
A typical striker.
Yeah.
No, like just touched on there, obviously last season. Obviously came in midway through the season last year. And even again your debut last year, scoring 2 goals against my own clubs and passed it out. That must have been a great feeling coming in, hitting the ground running.
Yeah. Last season was different, obviously, because I came from mid-season, so I didn't really have a pre-season. I think there's going to be a difference with this year. Thankfully, I had one, but in a way, I did well personally. As you said, I got my goals. Maybe not enough because we didn't go up. We didn't win the cup neither. But last season, I think personally, and even as a collective, I think we have to see the bigger picture. We didn't go up. We didn't win the cup, but I think the way we ended the season was good in terms of the way we wanted to play, the personality we had on the pitch, and if we could kind of bring that to this season the same way as we did on Friday, I think things will go well for us anyway.
Do you think maybe the disappointment, obviously, of just not getting to the Premier Division last year can drive us on this year to go that extra step further?
100%. Listen, it's not good to overthink it neither. I think all we can do is maybe use that just in a positive way. That one did hurt me a lot, to be fair, because listen, you basically worked all that hard, not for nothing, but you just have to stay on the same stage as last season. But all you can do is maybe use that as an experience. And as I said earlier, the only target is to win the league. So we don't have to go for those playoff things anymore. Yeah.
Just going back even a bit further, seeing this by yourself, like whereabouts did you grow up in France?
So I was born in Roubaix, that's just next to Lille, in North, but I didn't stay there for a long time. I went to Marseille, next to Marseille when I was like 5. So yeah, I grew up in Marseille, south of France. Okay. Big club as well, massive club.
Yeah, and you were obviously in the academy as well, like at a very young age.
Yeah. So I went there when I was 13, stayed there for 6 seasons, so until under 19. And that's when I made my move to Charlton after.
And is there any players in, say, that academy at the time that progressed into, say, the French league or into Marseille's first team?
Listen, I think the most famous one you both will know is Boubacar Kamara, the one that plays at Villa now. Me and him played for a few years together. There is a couple of other lads that play as well, but I think the most famous one is him, obviously. I think that's the big one that you should know, I think.
Yeah. And can you tell, even when you're at a young age, 14, 15, can you just tell that this guy's got talent? So you can
no, 100%. Listen, he was one step above everyone already. And the funny thing is that only a few people know he used to be a centre-back until he was maybe 19. He only started to play in midfield when he stepped to the first team. But yeah, no, listen, great player, great guy. And obviously, I'm really buzzing for him. The way things are going, I think he's 23. He's played over 100, 200 games, I think, already professionally. So I just wish him all the best.
Yeah. And for yourself then, growing up, was there a particular player you looked at growing up, or was there someone you modeled your game on when you were a kid?
With me as well. I think that's going to make you laugh, lads. But until I came to Charlton, to be fair, I used to be a midfielder. So I used to love, obviously, players like, Iniesta, Ozil. But once I started to play up front, for me, the number one is Karim Benzema. I'm not going to say I'm trying to imitate him because I think we're all different and you have to have your own style of play. But if there is one guy that I really like to watch, the way he moves, the way he controls the ball, the way he scores goals, the way he's important in big games, I think that's the one for me, yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, it looks like you weren't going to mention a French player for a minute. I thought.
Yeah, I had to be. I had to be.
A French player. Just obviously, look, in terms of with Marseille, and is the reason why you left Marseille was just to get first team minutes? Was that the reason why?
Yeah, genuinely, like the issue with Marseille is that's a really, really big club, Champions League club, and I kind of felt that I wasn't going to really step through the first team, and Charlton was interested. So what happened is I went down trial for 2 weeks first, then they called me back again for 2 months, and I just signed my pro there. Yeah. I've got a bit, I'm not going to say unlucky, but I've had a lot of injuries, which maybe slowed me down. So I've done both cruciate. So one when I was at Marseille and the other one when I was at Charlton. I'm not going to use that as an excuse, but as I said, it just slowed me down a little bit. And I think it might be one of the reasons why I didn't break through at Charlton either. Thankfully, now I'm at Waterford and things are going pretty well. So I'm not going to complain about that.
And how did you find the difference even between living in France to suddenly moving to London as a young, like, was it 18 when you moved there?
Yeah, I was 18 when I moved, and obviously the massive difference is I had to live by myself. So like when you're 18 and when you're used to living with your parents, having your mom cooking dinner, making your bed sheets, everything. It's a bit different, but it made me grow up as a man. And I'm not gonna lie to you, the first 2 months were tough, whether that was personally or even on the pitch, because I wasn't able to speak English at the time. You come from another country, so even the teammates expect you to bring maybe another level. They're like, this guy's from another country, so he must show us he deserves to be here. So yeah, the first 2 months were really tough, but that was a great experience, and I think Europe brings positive at the end. Anyway.
Yes, you would categorize, say, like your experience at Charlton very positive. Like, was it
100%?
Yeah,
100%. And I think, as I said, I had a really bad injury that kept me away from the pitch for maybe 20 months. So I will always be grateful to the club. They always gave me time. I was there for 4 years, and it just didn't work out. I think because of timing. When you're under 23s and when they expect you to break into the first team, and because of my injury and maybe other reasons as well, I didn't break through. So things ended well. And as I said, I'm always going to be grateful to the club, 100%.
How did you find then, obviously, their loan spells going, as I mentioned, Aldershot Town earlier on? Like, how did you find the loan spells in the lower leagues of English football?
So the one at Aldershot was a bit special, because obviously that's why I knew Danny saw, my manager that I've got now. Things were weird, because as soon as I signed there, so I signed a 3-month loan, he got sacked, like, I think 2 weeks after that. So I only made 1 start, and the new manager that came, things didn't work out with him, really. So I ended maybe staying a month and a half. So the Aldershot loan, I'm not gonna lie to you, it's still an experience. As I said earlier, you always have to bring positive from things. But I think the biggest one I had last season was the one at Hampton and Richmond. I think that's the one that, when I really played games, when I really started to play with men, because before that I never played week in, week out with men. And I think that was the good transition before coming here to Waterford, because before that loan I only played more or less 23s, and know how much the difference is between 23s football and first team football. So
yeah, and just on that point there, because that's something you hear if you watch any English media, is the difference between, say, playing first team minutes to playing under 23s. A lot of times people say under 23 football can be very artificial. There's no intensity to the game. That's why you see maybe a lot of English young players getting loaned out to the Irish Premier Division now, that a lot of players want to get first team minutes rather than playing, say, kind of a low intensity game. Did you find that with 23 football?
Yeah. I don't think it's really the intensity. It's more the fact that you play for the win, if it makes sense to you. You play in front of fans. Maybe the intensity mentally is different, because everything you do is like counts. When you play 23s, obviously you want to win, but if you lose at the end of the day, it doesn't change anything. When you go on loan and, as you said, play first team, if you lose the game, the manager can get sacked or you can go down. You get me? So I think that's the massive difference. That's this part of the game of really the winning mentality. That's the one that makes a difference when you go on loan, and that's the main thing I really learned when I was on loan. That was really the winning mentality. I think that's the main reason that I went on loan.
And just obviously fact checking, bit of international experience about playing for Algeria under 18s. Is that correct?
Yeah. I played with the 18s and the 20s. I played 3 games with the under 18s and 1 game with the under 20s.
And how did you find that experience playing international football? Was it a step up again?
Listen, I've so far in football, so obviously I've had a lot of good memories, especially the brace against St. Pats last season. But the international experience is, I think, the best for me, because international football it's not like the club, when maybe you cannot choose the club for the manager, for the style of play. When you play international, it's pure emotion, and the few games I played, really, like, I only have good memories. The crowd was massive, especially when I played under 20. There was like 25,000 people. The way people love football in Africa. So there is one thing that I just can't wait, is hopefully to play with the first team one day with Algeria. And that's why I'm working hard as well. So listen, that's one of my goals, and I hope I will reach that soon, hopefully.
Just obviously looking ahead, then obviously moves over to Ireland. How obviously Danny Sir had a big impact obviously coming over. How have you found that transition from, say, moving from Marseille to London, now to Waterford? How have you found that?
As I told you, the transition was bigger when I moved from Marseille to England. But when I moved from London to Waterford, obviously it's 2 different countries, but both speak English. The style of play is really, as you said, really intense. And I was really surprised by the high quality of the game here. You know, when you're used to England, you have this cliche of, you know, like English football is better than everywhere else in the world. But when I first came, listen, the quality of the game here surprised me a lot, and I'm actually really pleased that I came here, because I feel like I'm learning, I think that I'm progressing, and I feel that I'm helping the team as well. So hopefully that will keep going. But yeah, massive positive that I came here so far. I'm really happy about it.
Yeah, and you kind of touched on that was the standards of the League of Ireland, like obviously playing first division, that kind of surprised you. Maybe it's actually better than you thought.
Yeah, 100%. I'm not saying that obviously in an arrogant way or a negative way, but you know, when you come from a League One club, you're like, maybe, yeah, okay, I'm going to come to Ireland, the standard's going to be a bit lower. But listen, I was really surprised. Obviously, I played team like Cork last season, Galway, even Longford. They were all really good teams, and from what I've seen so far, the standards are just going up and up and up, and hopefully that will keep going, because there is a lot of talent here, whether that's on the pitch, the players, the staff, or even the crowds. We can see that there is a lot of fans here, so hopefully we'll just keep going on and on and on.
Yeah, and obviously looking ahead to our season, I would imagine from the outside looking in, there's only one goal this year really for Waterford. That's promotion back to the Premier Division.
Promotion, 100%. We're not scared to say it, because you know, sometimes the way people are kind of hiding their faults, but we want to win the league 100% this year. That's the main target, and we just have to prove that week in, week out, the same way as we did this Friday, just by winning games, being consistent, and yeah, hopefully that will make it this season.
You've talked about the experience at international level with Algeria, but France are coming to town to play Ireland in the next couple of weeks. Who are you cheering for? I'm hoping it's Ireland at this stage.
I was waiting for that one. No, listen, I'm still my family is Algerian, so Algeria has always been my number one. But if there is France playing against someone else, I have to support France. I'm sorry, I have to support France.
Your chances of getting a ticket from someone now have just dropped off, but I'm sure you'll be watching it with just as much interest as we will.
I will 100%. I will. Don't worry. If there is Ireland against another team that France, I will support Ireland 100%.
Good.
Well, look, seeing great times. One more question. I was looking ahead to the weekend. First home game of the season against Longford Town. I was looking forward to getting back into the RSC. Probably, hopefully, a packed house.
Can't wait. I said earlier, like I miss the fans. It wasn't an away game, and he felt at home. So I can't wait to be at the RSC. I miss this place. Listen, the end of the season was amazing. I think we had crowds like 2,000 plus basically every game. And the game against Charlton, the semi-final, I think we had like 5,000 something. The fans have been brilliant so far. Last season they were unreal, and all we can do is just, you know, like when there is big crowds like that, it just gives you more and more strength to give everything on the pitch. And all we can give back to them is at least, working hard for them, and hopefully the result will be positive as well on Friday against Longford.
How many goals should we expect then Friday night?
I was waiting for that one as well. No, listen, the win first, and if I can grab another one or two, maybe 3, I'm not gonna say no.
6 goals in 2 games. Geez, that'd be a fairly good start to the season.
That'll be nice. But listen, as earlier, the main thing is promotion. Like, I can score as many goals as I want, but if you don't go up, it doesn't matter. So yeah, the main thing is promotion first, and then if I can get goals as well, that'll be nice.
We're saying thanks so much for your time, and good luck Friday night.
Thanks, mate. Thanks, lads. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Get in touch. You can email us at extratimelive@gmail.com or tag us on Instagram using the hashtag League of Ireland, or tweet us at Extra Time News.
Let's do it.
And now I'd like to welcome on to Pats Captain Joe Redmond. Joe, how are you?
Yeah, all good, thanks. You?
Yeah, not too bad. So we'll start with Friday night. I've been watching Toss, looking back now last Friday. Obviously, good point in the end.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, looking back now and breaking the game down and watching it back, it's good to look at it from that perspective. But yeah, in the end, it was a good point. But I thought throughout the game, through spells, we showed what we're capable of as a team. I know it's the first game of the season. We did have a few patches where we were rusty and a bit sloppy, but that's always going to happen. And now we're looking forward to building on that.
In terms of your goal, then, like, you know, was it reactive, or did you see it coming? How just tried the toe poke?
No, we just seen it coming over their front zone marker, and just thought if I get any contact at this, try and direct that goal. And obviously it's went in and it's got us a point. But I mean, we were kind of in a phase where we had a lot of corners and a lot of chances. So now it was great, and obviously an 89-minute equaliser is scenes from the stadium. So now I was delighted with it.
Just in terms, obviously, say from taking last year's game at home, the 4-0 game, Derry won, to now, like I think it was evident then in the stadium that the Pats have improved massively in terms of where they were, say, 12 months ago to now. Like, was that kind of evident on the pitch as well?
Yeah, I think last season with that 4-0 result, it shows how far we've come in terms of as a squad and as a whole. Like last year at the start of the season, we were trying to find that consistent basis, and we didn't quite get to grips with that at the start. And as you look back at the game the other night, we showed the resilience and maybe the mental strength to come back in a game which maybe at the start of last season wouldn't have been the case. And it's a credit to all the staff and everyone that's been working together in terms of knowing all our roles and know the way the team goes and just going till the very end, I suppose.
Joe, I was at the game myself on Friday night. I was interested to see the new players that slotted into the team. Noah Lewis looked pretty good at the back end beside you. If I get it right, Vladislav Krejda I thought was really good in the middle of the midfield, and Tommy Lonergan was slotting in up front. There's some good, exciting players that Tim has brought into the squad for this season.
Yeah, definitely the additions that he's brought in have been very good all through pre-season. And then the other night, Noah beside me was I think it could have been his first professional game, and he was excellent beside, very commanding and loud, and on the ball was composed. And then you have Vlad in the middle, which was obviously got a lot of experience in the senior game and having international caps. It's great to have him there. You can see the composure when he gets the ball on the half turn. He plays in a different type of way and likes to control games as such, and he'll be a vital part of our team this year. And then you've got Tommy, who's still only 19, and it feels like he's such a man's physique, and the way he handled it and held the ball up there the other night was excellent. I know he'd be disappointed not to get on the score sheet because as a striker you want to, but now Tommy has just been progressing through pre-season as well.
You would have come up against him probably late last season. He got a good run of games with UCD. He kind of stepped in when Colin Whelan got injured. So you would have played against him last season. Yeah,
definitely. I actually played against him twice, I think, and he was excellent. He doesn't give it a minute. He just runs and he hassles you, and he does all the stuff that as a centre-back you don't like and maybe you don't see as much. Nowadays he's very physical, and it's great to see.
And I'm sure he's looking to learn off the likes of Mark Doyle and particularly Owen Doyle. Owen's experience of playing playing in the League of Ireland, but his long time playing over in the UK. That kind of, I'm sure Tommy will be trying to get as much out of Owen as well. Hopefully they'll be playing together and scoring goals together. But to have someone of that experience in the squad, it's great for up and coming players to try and utilise that.
Yeah, of course. The way Owen carries himself around the club and the way he carries himself in general, even on the pitch, you can probably tell from afar. Tommy will be looking at Owen and trying to take things, and I'm sure Owen goes out of his way to make a conversation with him to just help him in any way that he can, because if they're scoring goals together, it's only going to benefit the team and it's only going to benefit each other. It just looks great on the whole team.
Obviously, another key sign that came in, Joe, was obviously Jake Mulroney, and we kind of saw a flash from there on to come off the bench on Friday night. Looks like another obviously fantastic player to bring in. Obviously, great experience playing in Scotland and MLS.
Yeah, of course, Jake is going to be another huge one for us. Obviously, the run of, I think he played about 20 minutes, half an hour the other night, and you're seeing glimpses how effective he can be in 1v1 situations, and also how clever he is when he wants to link in too. So now Jake is going to be very good for us, and now really looking forward to him being up to full fitness and ready to go.
Is Noah Lewis the tallest player ever played beside? Looks like a big lad to play beside there in centre half.
I've played beside a few big ones. I played beside Jake O'Brien in the 21s, which is also another tall figure, but now he's a very big fella, but he can move as well, so it's good to have beside.
Yeah, that was somebody behind me was going, where's the big lad come from? And someone said, he played with Feyenoord, so there was like a whistle of appreciation. So yeah, I think you get these players in who played for different clubs. I know he was with one of the other clubs since then, but it's just a different football culture even coming in to get that with the 4 Estonian players I think have come into the league as well.
Yeah, of course. You have obviously Timmermans as well, who's in there, which will help Noah settle in, because I think they knew each other before before even coming over. So that's great to have there too, because you know yourself, coming to a new place and a new city, they've got each other to speak to and language and stuff. So now Timmermans will be a big factor in helping Noah settle in, and Toyage is also another vital player for us this year.
Just reflect on last season, Joe, like from a personal level, like it obviously couldn't have gone better for you in terms of like just the award of the player of the season, PFAI team of the year, even getting nominated for PFAI young player of the year. Like just on a personal level, it must be like obviously you've seen this transition for you come back from England and settling in very well.
Yeah, of course. Obviously coming back from England, it's not easy, but I knew that I just wanted to play games and kind of start to build up such a football CV as such. Going in to Drogheda was great for me to just get experience in the league and stuff. And then obviously when the gaffer brought me to Pats with him, and then having such a good year last year, I just enjoyed it. And once you're enjoying it, and like it's kind of just looking at it game by game and trying to just give everything, I suppose, for the club. And them little goals were just coming, and now hopefully more of the same this year. And I'm just going to try and give 100% every time I play.
When Patrick McElhenney came off the bench for Derry the other night, they gave him the captain's armband, but it was a black armband on a black sleeve, so you couldn't even tell it. But you're wearing the Pats armband, and you got handed that last year. You know, a young player, 22 then, and I believe you're a Pats fan as well. Like, what was your reaction when the manager said, "Listen, I want you to captain the team," and particularly, I suppose, going forward this season after Ian Birmingham retired at the end of the year?
Yeah, to be honest, it kind of took me a little bit by surprise, just as the way that I was asked and such, and it was a huge honour, and obviously thanks to the coach and staff for that. But as a player, it is an armband that you will wear with pride, being captain of St. Patrick's Athletic, but I don't think you can kind of change too much, because you've been given it for a reason, and that's what I try and do. I try and encourage the team. I try and lead as much as I can, and try and be a voice for the lads, and also try and show that I can lead by performances as well. We've got a lot of great leaders in there and a lot of experience now. So now it was a huge honour for me. I've still got so much to learn in the game, being very young and that, and I'm still learning off other people's by now. I'm a finished article or nothing. So no, it was a huge honour, but I still got a lot to learn.
Just for yourself, Joe, obviously growing up, what schoolboy club did you play for? Was it Crumlin United?
I started at Kilmainham and then Crumlin, and then I went to St. Joseph's under 12s, I think it was, and then from there I went over to Birmingham.
And did you have trials before at other clubs, or was it just from, say, Joey's over to Birmingham?
Yeah, I had a couple of trials before, kind of when I was 14, 15s, and then now Birmingham, I think, were the first club to make the offer, so it was just over to there.
And what age was that? That's around 16, 17, was it?
Yeah, I moved over when I was 16, yeah.
How was that experience? Because we've obviously heard so many stories over the years of young lads going over at a very young age, and some settling well, some don't, get very homesick. What was your own situation?
I kind of just, as soon as I got the opportunity, I just jumped at it, and it didn't really cross my mind. Like, growing up, there was a lot of people going away, and that was what I wanted to do, and that was nearly at that age, it's nearly the be all end all when people are getting trials and going over, and that's what I wanted to do. And the experience that I got over there was second to none, like training and facilities and that. But obviously sometimes it doesn't go to plan and you don't break into the first team, and that happens over there. There's a lot of boys that come back, and it obviously is tough at the time, but sometimes it can either make or break you.
Yeah, just on that, obviously getting the conversation. Was there a conversation had with Birmingham, the coaches, that you won't be getting your contract renewed, or how did that go about?
Yeah, it was kind of late on that we had the conversation. We had quite a good group, and we won the under 23s league that year, and it was a few weeks before the final of that we did find out that it's obviously a tough conversation to have, knowing that you spent 5 years there and you've dedicated your life to it. So, and then to be released, and you're kind of thinking at the time, where's this gonna go, and where does this leave me now? And then I made the decision to come home, and thankfully it was the correct decision for me.
You know, it's interesting, I suppose, that yourself and the lads who went over for you in 2016 and 17 are kind of the last of the pre-Brexit players to go over. Now, you've seen yourself now, players are staying in the league much longer, playing here to 18, 19, and then maybe making the jump to England or going further abroad like James Abankwah. Like, is that a noticeable shift you see now in the league, much younger players, or would you prefer yourself even going back, maybe staying here longer than going over?
Yeah, no, I think looking back at it now, you kind of have that when you go over and you're in the under 23s and they're speaking about men's football and getting experience, and it can be quite hard to get a loan because it's a lot of trust in you playing, and you're going out and there's people's career and jobs on the line. And then see if you've got the likes of Sam Curtis here with Pats at the minute, who's flying, and he's got a lot of games under his belt now, and like each game you can kind of see his physical presence, and he's handling the man game so well, and he's learning different things which is you wouldn't have got at an under 18s level. And then you've got James Abankwah, who's gone over with games, and Dara Burns as well, which is maybe benefit them lads going over there and going straight into a first team environment instead of maybe going into a under 18s or such, or under 23s, where the physicality isn't as demanding as the League of Ireland. So looking back for me, maybe staying home, and if I had to play games at a younger age, you never know what way things happen. So I think it'll definitely benefit the league and benefit young boys staying and playing and getting nearly to 50 to 70 games before, if they want to make that step over. But as well as the contracts you've got, boys staying here on longer contracts, and it's only going to better the league and better the standard of football.
How did that conversation transpire with Charlie and I coming back? Did you have a link with Tim Clancy, or was it a conversation through an agent, or how did that happen?
Yeah, it was a conversation through an agent, and then I went in to Drogheda, and I was talking to the gaffer, obviously, and we were speaking about like the club and that, and obviously went down to have a look, and I signed on the Tuesday, I think, and I played against Shamrock Rovers then on the Friday, and it was great. Like, just the difference. It was like one of my first times playing in front of like crowds and stuff, and getting that exposure to the experience. And now I think I played 11, 12 games at the back end of that season, and I did really enjoy it.
Just on, obviously, Tim Clancy, and obviously went to Pats then after Drogheda. Was it always a no-brainer for yourself that you were going to follow him to Pats?
Yeah, definitely. As soon as I knew the gaffer wanted me to come with him, it was a no-brainer that I didn't want to go anywhere else in the league. So no, it was a no-brainer. It was an easy decision for me.
Joe, Friday's game was sold out from the Monday beforehand. It was just 4,000, just under 4,800, with a big Derry crowd, but it'll be a bigger away crowd on Friday. Shelbourne are going to cross the Liffey and come across. I'm sure it'll be over 5,000. It must be great to play in front of a packed house like that. And you know what you expect from Shelbourne now on Friday, who you had some good tussles with last season.
Yeah, no, definitely. We had a few tough games, and it's always going to be a tough opposition with it being a Dublin derby as well. And with it being a packed Richmond, there's no feeling like walking out on the atmosphere, and with it being such a close stadium, like the stand is nearly looking over the pitch, and you've got a right on your back, and when you need them, I suppose even the other night we needed the fans, and I don't think they stopped the whole game, which spurs you on. And now it's definitely going to be a feisty one, obviously on Friday with it being a Dublin derby. But I think if we play the way I know we can play, and obviously the first game is out of the way with it, there's obviously that build up of the first game and the new players and that. So we're really looking forward to this game Friday.
Joe, we were obviously chatting off air, obviously yourself, growing up Pats fan as well, and the difference between, say, 10 years ago to the tens, maybe max 2,500 to what it is now, full houses nearly every week. Like, that's obviously a great motivation to go out and play with Friday night. Obviously must be a noticeable difference.
Yeah, I mean, the lads were only talking the other week saying about the crowds, and like you see yourself obviously on Twitter and stuff of how much it's increased the capacity and the attendances and stuff. And no, it is great, and it's obviously after the lockdown, it's a credit to all the fans for coming out and watching, and maybe got a lot of new fans after that wanted to come and watch live football, and now just the league has grown on them, which is huge. I think it's obviously bringing more money into clubs as well, which will help the clubs develop stadiums and develop everything that needs to be done to try and catch up on what needs to be caught up on.
George, the final question, obviously in great time, just in terms of past this season, in your own eyes, what do you think a good season is for St. Patrick this season?
Yeah, look, obviously you've got to take each game as it comes, and you've got to be looking to win every game, and that's what we're going to try and do. But no, we want to be up there this year, and we want to be challenging for silverware. That's obviously our aim as a group and thing, because I know that we're capable of doing it with the mentality we have and the squad that we have this year. So now the plan is to try and win every game, and hopefully we can go close this year.
And another goal Friday night be great as well.
Another goal would be great, hopefully, anyways.
Joe, in great time. Thanks so much, and good luck Friday night.
Cheers. Thanks very much, lads.
Extratime.ie. Get in touch through Facebook or tweet us at Extra Time News. League of Ireland football is our passion.
Welcome back to the final half. Macdara still alongside me. You sick of me at Macdara now?
Still here, yeah.
Yeah, still there. Before we wrap up this week's episode, we actually haven't spoke yet at all really about your experience at Qatar from the World Cup. We hadn't recorded a podcast post that, so we'll spend a couple minutes maybe having a quick chat about it. I'm interested anyway, so I want to chat about it. Overall, I suppose I'll leave it open-ended to start. What was your experience like in Qatar? Overall, positive, negative?
That's hard. Like, from a football point of view and the experience of kind of going to the World Cup, covering the matches and the matches I was able to get to, it was overwhelmingly positive. But the negatives, it kind of reinforced my opinion as to what the place was like when I went out there. But I suppose starting on the positives, like I was there for the group stages, so I was there for kind of half the tournament. There were so many matches in the group stages, and I had going out there. I bought spectator tickets like way before, over a year before, because I was a bit unsure as to whether I'd get accreditation. I had been at the World Cup through FIFA accredited in 2018, so I was kind of thought I'd be able to get it, but a little bit unsure. You go through the FAI. There was only 6 members of the written Irish press that actually went in the end, so it was nice to be there alongside the likes of the Irish Times and the Irish Independent and the 42 and the Examiner. And so I got to I tickets for 2 games. So actually I got to see Argentina lose in the World Cup. Not many people can say that, because they obviously went on and won all the other games or went through winning on the penalty shootout. I was there the day they lost to Saudi Arabia, and that was incredible because there were so many Saudi Arabian fans at the game, and there were so many traveling fans from Argentina. People would have seen, like, the numbers of traveling fans from Europe were pretty low. Lots of traveling fans from Argentina, from Brazil, from Mexico. Where it is their summer holidays, mostly in those countries where, other people were giving up their like going away in November, December, winter, maybe not as easy for others. And so the atmosphere in that game, which was in the Lusail Stadium where the final was. So I got to 11 games in 9 days across all 8 stadiums, and the stadiums were pretty incredible. Like my favorite one was the Stadium 974. I was staying quite close to there in an apartment. That's the one that they're going to be dismantling, and they'll literally take it all down, the steel frame. It's the one that had shipping containers in it. And I was wondering, was a bit of it's shipping containers, but they literally were shipping containers. So, and the ones painted yellow, they were the toilets. The blue ones were the concession stands. The grey ones were the prayer rooms, because each of the stadiums had. I was there for the Portugal, one of the Portugal games, got to see Ronaldo play, and ahead of the game and at halftime, people were going in, taking their shoes off, going in to pray. So a bit different from the normal games that you're going to. The Lusail Stadium is amazing, and that's the one they're going to turn into kind of a health centre, sports centre. And there's a couple of stadiums that they're taking the top tier off, so they'll go from 40,000 down to 20,000. So just the ease of getting to games, because it was World Cup in such a small city, the logistics were excellent. But if they can't get that right, when they've spent 200 billion, then they're doing something wrong. So being able to go to the one press center the day before the games, they would bring the manager and the player in. So I went to a lot of the pre-match press conferences, and the post-match. It was you could go to the ones in the stadium, or you could watch them online. Like the complaints a little bit would be sometimes the Irish media were kind of down the pecking order. So if you applied for a game, if you got a seat at a desk, it was great. You had your Wi-Fi, whatever. But 3 of the games I sat with my laptop on my knees, so Wi-Fi wasn't great, no replays. And you're probably going, why is he complaining there's no replays? But you're literally sitting in the last row of the stand in the upper tier. So it's very, very difficult. Whereas if you're in a League of Ireland ground and you don't have a replay, I know I mentioned last week, it's great having LOI TV back because you do get a replay. But, even if wherever you're sitting in the ground in League of Ireland grounds, you're pretty close, you'll be able to tell who the players are. And then some of the nights, the stadiums were really cold because they had some of them had air conditioning. So even though it was like 28 degrees, some of the matches were kicking off. The latest one was actually 10 o'clock local time, but it was still 25, 26 degrees. But the air conditioning was pumped into some of the stadiums. I was glad I had a hoodie. I was wearing my hat that I'd brought, my baseball cap that I'd brought to keep the sun off my head. And I was actually trying to keep my head warm. And it was interesting. So some of the games I went to, like on a Wednesday, finished on a Thursday, because with all the additional injury time, they finished after midnight, which was quite interesting. So then you were, if you're going to a post-match press conference and then traveling back, it was pretty late. But it was a great experience to go from that point of view. But maybe you want to hear a bit maybe on the negative side, or just the feel for the country.
Yeah, I'm curious, because I think we're all in a broad agreement that the football was excellent. I think most people are in general agreement watching the tournament. From the quarterfinals onwards, there were absolutely amazing games. You didn't think they could almost get better, and then rounded off with, the best final ever. I think so, and all the narrative around, France and Mbappe and Messi, but it wasn't just they didn't just grind it out. There's just the drama of the whole thing, and the football that was played. The benefit probably of the players not being flogged to death because it was in the middle of the season. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I think a huge factor definitely was that the players were prime and fit, and there was no lag of, you played 9 months, you played a Champions League final, you played 60 odd games, and suddenly then you have another possibly 7 games to get through. I think that was definitely a huge factor. In terms of, obviously, I'm interested in terms of day-to-day life in Qatar. So I know you probably don't see how authentic it is, because obviously you're kind of wrapped in a bubble of the World Cup, but could you see normal life in Qatar? What was it like, in terms of the people there? We'll start with that kind of first question. What was it like, kind of normal life in Qatar? Could you see much of it?
Yeah, it's a very male-dominated society. It's a population of, I think, 3 million, but only 300,000 are Qataris. So everyone else is a migrant worker of varying scales. And, I heard other people describe it as kind of an apartheid state. And it isn't far off. It's stratified. You had I was interested when I went to say the Argentina-Saudi Arabia game, I bought a Category 2 ticket, which was over €100, and I was kind of interested who would be sitting around me at the games. So there was a Mexican guy sitting beside me in one of the games, and he was a chef working in one of the high-end hotels. So he was obviously earning a good enough wage that he was able to go to the game. Like the people that were dealing kind of on a client basis, a lot of people from Pakistan and India, the say the apartment that I was staying in and checking in, all that kind of stuff. But then the security guards were from Africa, and when I left at 9 in the morning and I came back at 9 at night, it was the same fella. The people sweeping the streets were a lot of Bangladeshis. There was a couple of use the metro a lot, and there is a legacy that's left over after the World Cup, is that they built a three line metro, opened in like 2019, 2020, and that made 5 of the 8 stadiums were on the metro, and then the other 3 you then had to get a bus. The worst one being where the opening ceremony was, which was it's literally built in the desert, 40 kilometers north of Lusail. But so I use that a lot. There was media shuttles, but a couple of times I got a taxi. I had to change accommodation kind of towards the end of my time there. I moved into one of those caravan parks, which actually worked out quite well. It was a mobile home with air conditioning, with water, but it was just a massive, like I don't know, 500 caravans, and it was so big. When you checked in, they then got you a tuk-tuk, one of those kind of motorbike things, and you sat in the back and they drove you out because the thing was so big and the weather was so hot, you weren't going to be walking 40 degrees across this thing. But I did get a couple of taxis, and you get, as usual, you get chatting to the taxi driver. One was hilarious. Both were from India, and one of them was asking me where I was from. So I said Ireland, and he's like, "You're not in the World Cup." I was like, "Oh, tell me about it." And he was like, "Yeah, you were in the group with Portugal and Serbia, and you got beat." And I had to rack my brains to remember. Okay, I remembered, Portugal and Ronaldo and Bazunu's penalty save and all that. But he knew, and I was asking him, was he going to the games? And he was like, "No, sir." And it was very deferential. I suppose I was a white man getting into his taxi. I couldn't afford those tickets. They shut the schools during that time. They shipped a lot of people out of the country, migrant workers, to create space for people to work in. Yeah, and I say very male-dominated society, but there was tourist travel there, women travel there. You didn't, saw plenty of people who women who obviously living there were wearing, were covering their heads. But if you were a woman and you wanted to walk around in a pair of shorts and whatever, no problem. Like Qatar, I haven't traveled in the Gulf before, but I read a good bit about it. Obviously watched the FIFA documentary, read the stuff in the Guardian. Really good book by a guy called, I think it's John McManus, Inside Qatar, talking about the society over there. It's not as Western as Dubai, but we're not talking about something like Riyadh. I think if you were a worker on the World Cup stadiums, the stadiums itself, the health and safety seemed to have been excellent. But the apartments that I was in, I was literally the first person to check into it, and that had been built for the World Cup. I don't know what the oversight would have been in terms of the migrant workers. I was staying beside a big park and ride facility, and there was cricket being played by, I don't know, people from India, Pakistan were playing on the tarmac in this massive park and ride. But it was like I was there like the first 2 weeks at the end of November, start of December, and it was like 38, 39 degrees, and that was like winter time. I can only imagine what it's like during summertime. So just a very strange place. Like people can ask, what else would you do? Like there was a whole furore about the drink. You could go to a high-end hotel as a Westerner, and you could walk in and you could get a beer, but you're probably talking about €18 for a bottle of Corona, something like that. And from a cultural point of view, like I went to the Qatar National Museum, absolutely amazing museum in terms of architecture, engineering. The best piece that was in, well, it was a really strange exhibition. Part of it was about the blockade between the Emirates and Qatar, stuff about the royal family. So the crown prince's three wives and many children was how they described it. But the best bit was they had the envelope and the card which had Qatar that Sepp Blatter pulled out when he announced who had won the World Cup. I thought that was the best bit. And then the Islamic Art Museum is absolutely amazing, wonderful building, wonderful exhibits, but it's kind of like the Chester Beatty Library. If people have been to the Chester Beatty Library, I'd recommend it. Lovely rugs, lovely ornate Qurans. But probably the best museum I went to, no surprise, was the Sports Museum. It was kind of the Olympic Museum, which was in the Khalifa Stadium, which was the oldest stadium that they built. I was there at a couple of games, so the Dutch play there. It was built like in maybe 2005, 2006, and that is an amazing sports museum where the Sultan and the Emir has been given loads of gifts. It included the football that Pele scored his 1000th goal in is in there, but there was various things like a Ferrari F1 car, a Michael Jordan number 23 shirt, Roger Federer stuff. So really, really fascinating to see the stuff around. But just a bizarre place to go. I wouldn't be going back. There's nothing drawing me to go back there again. But fascinating to see how you kind of run a World Cup in a city, but you can really only do that in a state like Qatar, where you can kind of do these things where money is no option. Like they bought 3,000 buses for the tournament. So, and the red buses were for fans, the yellow buses were for media, the blue buses for workers. And so when the bus arrived up towards the stadium, they just were waved in because they knew what color the bus was. And the logistics of getting the fans on and off was amazing. But again, the people running that were white Westerners, American accents, were the people with the walkie-talkies as they filled the lines of like 10 buses and then another 10 buses, and you came out of the metro and you zigzagged and off. But the people with the foam hands and the waved hands was, a lot of people from the Philippines, and the wages are really low. Like the minimum wage is, might get it wrong, but it's something like $300 a month. Like there's no reason for a country that's as wealthy as that. It's the biggest producer of its gas is their big production. They should just be paying a proper wage. But I think things have improved. I'll be fascinated to see, next November, the likes of the Guardian and others will go back and do the 12 months on and what it'll be like, and you just hope it hasn't reverted back, that the steps that they've made and the journey that they still need to go, like the remittance that workers send back is really important to places like Nepal and places like Bangladesh, places in Africa. But when you see the wealth, the cars that are driven at high speed on the motorways, that the taxi driver was telling me like 3 years ago, these didn't even exist, and they're paying that. So yeah, it was. I don't regret going. As I say, I had, I had certain ideas before I went out as to what it might be like, and kind of what I saw reinforced it.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I think obviously the terms and the dialogue beforehand was dominated with obviously human rights issues in terms of the migrant workers, in terms of LGBTQ rights.
Yeah, sorry, I should have mentioned that as well, of course. Yeah,
in terms of even like just the health of the workers and what was happening. You mentioned there even the wages they were receiving and pittance really. It's just interesting to get the perspective of someone who was there. In terms of the fans actually there, what was the fan experience like, you think, from mingling with people there from other countries? It's interesting because obviously you touched on it earlier on, was in terms of alcohol, it was told again, like, the
weekend before.
Yeah, like it was pulled. The rug was pulled from like Budweiser, for example. Were told they were allowed to sell at stadiums, and then literally in foreign tournament, they were told they can't sell at stadiums, only sold in designated zones, and obviously that annoyed people. So, did that annoy, say, for example, did it annoy the fan experience, or like even commentary I've read have said that it actually added to the fan experience, maybe without the alcohol? So
yeah, I don't know about that, because what's different about this World Cup is that if you think of a World Cup, say in Germany with the fan zones, and so you had 8 or 10 cities in 2006 World Cup or Brazil in 2014, because I've been lucky enough to go to a lot of the World Cups. But so you're in Stuttgart and you're going to a game, and then the next day the match is in Munich, but there's a fan zone in Stuttgart and everyone goes to watch the game, or you go to a local pub and the games are all on. Like, I think back to, some of our listeners probably would have gone to the World Cup in 2002 following Ireland. I think back to, going to that World Cup and the hotel I was staying in, you came back at the end of the day and there was people from all the different countries and what game had you been to? And then you came down and you watched the games together, and everyone, it's that shared common experience, and you're asking them, what games are you going to next? And what was your experience? But in Qatar, there was like the one fan zone in the middle where you actually could get beer, but I think it was like €16 maybe for 500 ml Budweiser. And so the queues to kind of get in, I went kind of only went one time. So you didn't have that mingling with the fans, because you were going to the game that you were at, and most people were going to a lot of games because you were able to get tickets. People would have seen the empty seats. So I don't know, I don't know about the alcohol. I think it ties into the fact that it was a different type of World Cup, that it was like an Olympics. It was in one city. And so people were going to game after game. Whereas if you're going to, if I think back, I went to the World Cup in 2018, but I went to St. Petersburg and Kaliningrad. Again, not a great state to be traveling to, as we now know. But when I was in St. Petersburg, I was there for like 11 or 12 days. I went to 5 games, and then in between, I was going to it was going out in the evening, and you'd be able to watch the other games. You weren't able to. It was very hard to do that elsewhere, and so that's probably the difference, And then the next World Cup is in Mexico, Canada, and America. And if you're a traveling fan, the carbon footprint of that will be absolutely massive.
It's amazing how it's gone from such a small area of Qatar where everything's on literally, as you said, like not a tube, what they call it, underground. It's like so close to get to one side to the other. So now you're going to 2026 and it's the complete opposite. You could be playing in New York and then you're suddenly playing down in Toronto, Mexico City. It's a complete difference. Just was to finish up on this part, Macdara, looking back, would you say, did you enjoy going over the World Cup? I know you mentioned it's hard to distinguish between whether it's a positive or negative tournament, but what did you enjoy? Was it a good experience going over?
Yeah, no, it was a great experience, and it was hard. It was hard to come home, because you were able to go from, there was 3 days I went to 2 games a day. There was only one day I covered 2 from the press box. So the days I had match tickets, I did a game later on. And so to have that high level quality football and the access you get with the media, and it was interesting, if you got a seat in the press box, you were always sitting beside the Irish contingent, was sitting together. So I suppose the camaraderie of covering the games with other people. But I was there for, let's say, for half the tournament, and went from game to game, and not complaining, because it was just a great experience to be able to do that. So overall positive from a football point of view, and positive from the experience of being at a World Cup and covering the World Cup, going to the press conferences, going to the mix zones, and also positive in just getting a feel for what the place is like, the positives and the negatives as well.
Yeah, Macdara, I think that was a good insight into what the experience is like in the Qatar World Cup. I think we'll park that there now. Yeah. We could keep going for another hour. But before we finish up, actually, a quick mention of our new little show we should plug.
Yeah, extra time voice notes, I think is what we're calling it. So we debuted it on Friday night, straight after the game. Oisin Langan, we were all at the Pats v Derry game, and we got reports from kind of around the grounds, and we also heard from the 2 managers on Friday night. So we hope to do that as the season continues. So it's a short, sharp podcast going out the night of the games, so that people can listen to it, be it on if they're they're travelling home if it's a long away journey, and available for them early on Saturday morning as well.
Quick run through the games before we finish up. The Premier Division this weekend: UCD face Sligo Rovers, Derry City Cork, and Paget v Shelburne, Bowes Dundalk, and Drogheda United v Shamrock Rovers, all 7:45 kickoffs on Friday night. In the First Division, Waterford face Longford Town, Cove Ramblers face Wexford, Galway United v Treaty, Athlone Town Finn Harps, and Bray Kerry. Again, all Friday night games, quarter kickoff. Actually, it's worth mentioning, congratulations to Kerry making the League of Ireland debut.
Yeah, and then probably getting 6 players booked as well, I noticed. But no, I think it was great to the game seemed to have passed off really well. They got a big crowd. They've sold a lot of season tickets. They'd love to have a bigger capacity in the ground. And, they gave a good account of themselves. I think, Cove will be a decent enough side in the First Division. So to lose to Cove, but to give them a good game by all accounts, just reading the match reports, I think it's great. And hopefully they can be, competitive the rest of the season. It's very hard. I think they played any preseason games. It's a real spread of players that they brought in. But great to see them make their debut in the League of Ireland. Yeah,
we'll finish on this. A quick stat from Monkauser: 63 yellow cards and 3 red cards across the 10 League of Ireland games this weekend.
So how many yellow cards?
63 and 3 red cards. So 66 cards in total were given out this weekend.
So, Kerry accounting for 10 of those yellows anyway.
I think we'll leave it there. Macdara, thanks very much.
Yeah, thanks, Luke.
And thanks to all our guests that come on today, and we'll chat to you all next week.